Hey guys, what's going on? Having some technical difficulties with the paint itself. So I think today we're going to just do the part one and we're going to just go through the drawing process. I'm going to grab everything I need for that. Going to go get some coffee real quick. I'm going to be right back. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking things out. It's been a crazy 24 hours for, I'm sure, everybody right now. So we're just going to draw. We're going to have a good time. We're not going to think about it. And that's it. So I don't want to hear about it in the chats. I don't want to see anything about it. We're just gonna ignore all the bullshit going on right now and just make some art. So yeah, I'll be right back. YouTube is not showing up with my my video for some reason. So if anyone can see this right now on YouTube, definitely leave a comment, share a link in the video. I can't, for whatever reason, seem to find it on my own channel. It's just not showing up. If anyone knows why that is, let me know. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't show my video live. So strange, so strange. I don't know why it's doing that. It's kind of a little aggravating, but it should be fine. I think there's some stuff going on with YouTube Studio. But it says that I'm live through Streamlabs, but I can't tell on my channel, so I'm not sure what's going on right now. That's why. Okay. All right, there we go. That was the issue. So the video was listed under unlisted, which is insanity, not what I meant. But we should be good now. Let's see. Nice. Okay, so yeah, we're good now. Everything's good to go. Just setting things up. I just gotta go run and do a few things real quick, and I'll be right back. I'm just gonna post some links in the chat for you guys. Okay, so there's the link to donate and also free access to the Discord server. So definitely check those out. No obligations to donate as always, but if you want to and you feel like you can and can afford to do so to support the channel, it's always greatly appreciated, and all that money goes back into making these streams a lot better and improving the quality of the channel. But again, no obligation. I have a list of the tools that I normally use to carve these boards, but because the paint would not cure on the board yesterday because of like how cold it was, I had to start over and I had to wait for that to seize up and remove it from that board and start the whole process of taping it and masking it all over again, or starting fresh with a new board. So we're gonna go through the drawing process. I was sketching last night, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw that skull in my story. And that's what the sketch is going to be for this board. But I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to pause this real quick. So please stick around. If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to ask them. You can put them in the chat. For some reason, a lot of this stuff isn't working the way it normally does, so I just got to see what's going on with that with Streamlabs. So the chats aren't showing up on Streamlabs, and it's been a whole mess trying to get that figured out. I don't know why it's been so crazy lately, but can't do anything about it. All right, guys. I'll be right back. Hey guys, alright, sorry about the delay there. So we should have everything pretty much good to go. We have a few things I got to adjust with the setup here. Alright. So last night I drew this skull on my iPad. You guys have probably seen the sketch by now. If you were checking out my Instagram at all, this is something I've been working on for a hand-carved commission board. I need to figure out where I'm going to put the negative space, and I typically would do that on the iPad, but it's honestly, it just takes a little bit longer for me when I'm working on the iPad compared to other things. So this is normally how I do it, is I'll figure out the negative space areas I want to remove in the design, but I'm just not happy with it. So we're going to sketch it on paper. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to read personally, and I'll be able to kind of figure out what I'm going to be doing. So that's what we're doing today. The only reason I'm not jumping into carving, other than not really being sure what I want to do for the design, is that the paint on the board didn't dry right. So I had to scrape it and remove it, or tried to do it last night, and it was still kind of wet and gummy and just like won't dry. So I think I got to start over and get a fresh deck, unfortunately, which kind of sucks because they're expensive. I'll still do something with that deck eventually once that paint properly cures and dries, but I don't think I'm going to have the time to do it, so not a big deal. I'll just get another deck, and we'll do it that way. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I was drawing that skull last night, trying to figure out something different so it doesn't look like every single PAL graphic ever, because PAL has done literally every variation that you can think of a skull in the center of a board. And I just didn't want to do it like a straight-on view. I thought it would have just been really boring. So the two things we could do like a negative space sort of design where all the black areas instead are knocked out. If you guys have seen my Reaper skateboard that I did last year, like around October, like the Grim Reaper deck, which is, it's really just the Death card, the Death Tarot card carved on a coffin deck, but everyone refers to it as the Reaper board. So that design there, I think I have some posted that on my Instagram. There's a couple interesting things about that one. That one's a like negative knockout graphic, and I really do like how it came out, but it's just a little much. It's a little too much sometimes to carve those little lines, and it just looks a little kind of cheese, you know? It's not the coolest looking thing. So we're going to try a few things here. We're going to figure out what areas we're going to carve away, and we're going to do 2 skull sketches to determine that. And then by tomorrow, for tomorrow night's stream, we will be carving, because I have to go and get a fresh board, and I'm just going to go through the whole process. I have to do it all by hand. My orbital sander is currently missing, which really sucks. It's not too big a deal, but I can't really work, you know, the same without it. But we're just gearing up. We're also trying this new stream time. According to YouTube analytics, this is when most of my viewers are available to watch videos. So we're trying it out, but so far I don't think that's the case. That's okay. That's all right. I didn't post anywhere either. I didn't like make this a big deal to try and reach a ton of people. I just posted like yesterday on Discord and stuff, and a lot of the people that follow me on Discord aren't even close to the same time zone, so something to be expected. All right, got plenty of tools, got some coffee, sketchbook reference over here on the side on the iPad. All right, and a ton of other tools, so before I forget. Just some stuff to sketch with. So I'll sketch in the red probably to start, and then I'll probably move on to doing like a darker color, but get the general shape of the skull figured out. Now this is just a rough sketch to just figure out what style I like more as far as the carving goes. Because once you start carving in one specific method for your line work, or however you want to do it, if you want to do it with just shading, you can't really go back. It's carving directly into the wood. There's no way to fix it. It is what it is. So you get kind of one shot, one decision. It's very hard to fix any of the mistakes in there. You usually have to knock out a full area and just deal with it, and then change the other lines around it and hope for the best and hope that you can kind of salvage the design. So I really do enjoy doing the woodcut stuff. I love printmaking. I could have, probably chosen that as like a career path. Honestly, if I had the opportunity, I would have probably done something like printmaking or involved in some form of it with more like a traditional sense. I just think it's really cool. I have a lot of friends that are printmakers, and I'm just like so envious of how cool all their shit is. They make the coolest art. All right. So I'm just going to lay down this sketch real quick. Let me lower this light because I don't think you guys can see it in the red. I always forget that. It's a bad habit of mine. I sketch in a red pencil, and it's a little hard to see, I think, on camera for you guys. For me, it looks super bright, but for you, I think it looks a little too light almost. Let's see. Not much better. Yeah, it just washes it out. Okay, bear with me. I'm going to sketch this real quick. I'll try to sketch darker in a little bit so you guys can see. I'm just going to do this real fast and loose. I'm not trying to get a finalized tight drawing. I'm just trying to figure out what direction I want to go in for this design. I might even switch to the iPad halfway through once I kind of work out on paper the line movement. I find it a little bit easier for whatever reason to do this on paper versus working on the iPad. Even with the Paper-Like screen protector, I've had it at this point so long and drawn on it so much, it's worn down and doesn't really have that paper texture anymore. And I don't really like how that feels anymore. It just doesn't stick the same way a pencil does. And there's something about working with a nice waxy pencil like this one, when the tip of it actually hits the paper, it's super smooth, and I haven't found anything else that replicates it yet, even with Procreate. It's close. It's really close, and the sound and everything is close. But there's just this perfect amount of drag, and you can feel the tip of the pencil starting to break down as you sketch with it. That's not something I think they're going to ever be able to really make happen with digital, and that's fine. I just I can't sketch certain things on my iPad. It just doesn't compute in my brain the same way. You know what I mean? All right. So we got the basic jaw here. So this is not looking too bad. I think I know the direction I want to go in, but just to be sure, it's always good to sketch it out. On the mandible down here, I changed up the angle of it. So I have this app actually that's kind of great. It's a medical app for medical students to find different parts of anatomy and highlight different sections of bones and muscle groups. And it's actually really helpful for artists because you can change the angle of it. It's a complete 3D model, so you can grab any angle, you can isolate things, and that's what I did for this. Is I took some screen grabs of both, and then laid them out in Procreate, made a reference image for myself, and then sketched from that. And that allows me to kind of like build up a foundation of what I'm going to be drawing, and then I can make more creative decisions at that point because I have a great reference to pull from, and that's usually how I go about that. But it's a great way to experiment and test things out, and it's a lot faster than pulling everything into Photoshop for me personally. I still wish there was some features that are in Photoshop. I wish they would be incorporated into Procreate, or the mobile version of Photoshop wouldn't be so terrible. But unfortunately, the mobile version of Photoshop is really awful in my opinion. It's just really frustrating. There's a lot of things that they messed up with that. Changing keyboard shortcuts for those of us that work with the keyboard and are familiar with Photoshop. It was just ridiculous to have them try to change all these keyboard shortcuts that have been the same for years. They did that too with the regular version of Photoshop for a few things, and it just got really confusing to the point where I just kind of stopped using Photoshop for a little while until things kind of got somewhat back to normal, and they just keep changing different function keys and random stuff like that. So any of my graphic design followers, you know my pain. You've probably been ranting about the same thing with your friends. It's absolutely the most aggravating thing that Adobe's done in years, but they're trying to fix it, I think, now. A lot of bugs in Photoshop 2021 and Illustrator 2021 release that I just can't even believe are problems with the software this year. Okay, we got our teeth here. So again, this is just a rough sketch. This isn't, the proportions and stuff are crazy. Like this nose needs to be like way down here. But again, this is just a super rough, get it figured out kind of thing. All right, that looks a little bit better. Now, because the board's completely black, I would normally, ink out the whole background here, and then I would draw in with a darker pencil and figure out what I'm going to do. I can't really do that for this. Not a big deal. Let me just swap this pencil out for a darker pencil. So you guys will probably be able to see this blue pencil a little bit better. Hey, what's going on, man? It's going pretty good. I'm trying to keep positive. We got a lot of crazy shit going on in the world right now. But yeah, I'm just sketching, trying to have a good time. I was going to carve the board today, but unfortunately the paint didn't cure correctly, so I had to strip the whole board down. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to draw on this part 1, and then tomorrow night's regular time stream, I'm going to do the carving. So we're going to do the sketching today. I already showed everybody the skull artwork that I did. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see it on there too. But this is like the sketch of the artwork that we're going to carve on the board. Now we're figuring out what style of carving we're going to have on this thing. Am I going to do like a negative relief sort of carving where I just carve out the line work and a couple highlight spots, or only the highlight spots with very little line work? And now I'm sketching in the sketchbook to sort of determine my direction on this. So the whole board would be black around the design. I don't want to fill in this whole area, so that's just going to be it. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm looking forward to this skull design. I think it's going to be a cool one too. I haven't had the chance to carve a skull on a board yet, and I just can't believe I haven't done it. So I was really excited. I got this commission, and the person getting the board is super open to a bunch of different things, and this was sort of the thing I suggested, like, let's do a cool skull, let's make something rad. So we're going to do that. There's going to be some lettering as well, which I can do like in a couple seconds, so I'm not too worried about that. But right now I'm just determining what's going to be what. So this is going to be the line version. So all these dark areas here will actually be what's cut out. And then I'm going to do another version, which is sort of like the reverse, where it's only the highlights are really cut out and minimum line work to define the shape. But it should be. And thank you for tuning in, for sure. That I really appreciate everyone that's, been watching the videos lately. The channel's been growing a lot. And it's always good to see reoccurring people on the live streams. Not a popsicle board. This is actually going to be one of the punk nose boards that I've done in the past. I did the hand and dagger one and then the hand in the rose on one of those in the past. If you guys have seen those are on Instagram as well. So it's a nice large board. I like the shape of it, and I really like having the punk nose point to really sort of give it a bit more of a fierce and aggressive look. I just like how those boards are. They're really powerful, and they're fun to skate. If you've never skated like an old school pool deck or anything, if you're a street skateboarder, stop being a street skateboarder for 5 minutes and ask your dude that skates only transition to ride his board for like a little bit. You're gonna love the shape. They're super fun. And now that I'm getting older and trying to get back into skating, I'm just gonna end up becoming a transition skateboarder. It's just less abrasive on your body when you start skating transition. And my buddy Ram, he's a bit older than I am, and he was telling me too. It's just like it's all about like the no slam skateboarding. And I totally agree with him. It's getting back into it. I can't skate handrails. I can't do large gaps anymore. So I gotta skate something else and still have fun, but not break myself off every time I want to go skate. I just can't. One, I can't afford it. I don't have insurance, so like, there's nothing I can do about that right now. But the other thing too is like there's no need for me to go that hard and like get hurt and not have fun trying to skate something stupid when I can just go and have a good time skating whatever I feel like. I do miss skating like more technical like stuff and ledges and stuff like that, but that's not too bad if you fall. Yeah, dude, Tony Hawk's a fucking beast. Everyone talks shit on that dude, and I'm like, I don't understand why. It's like absolutely the most aggravating thing. If anyone's actually watched the Bones Brigade video, Lance Mountain says it's best. Is like, yeah, like they were the group of dudes that figured out how to make a living with skateboarding. Dude kills it. He skates better than I do, and Tony Hawk's like in his 50s, I think now. So it's just like insane how much that dude rips. That's for sure, dude. I physically can't slam like that anymore. Every time I fall now, I feel like my whole skeleton rattles inside of my flesh suit. I can't do it anymore. Every time I slam like that, I'm just like, it's like makes my teeth hurt almost. It's just insane. It is funny though, because like when you're a teenager, you don't ever think of getting to that point where you're like, oh, I'll be so old one day where if I fall off a curb, I'm done for the week, And now it's just like the stupidest falls, and I'm just done. I'm cooked. I'm over it. But yeah, I'm gonna be filming some more, I guess, sort of vlog style stuff of just everything I've been up to, because a lot of people keep asking like, when we'd be doing more videos. I'm working on a video with a sticker printing company. If you're on the Discord server, you already know about it. But not making it public yet until I finish the video and they get the final approval. But it's pretty much wrapped up. It's really cool. They sent me some great sample stickers. So the next Merch and Destroy episode is most likely going to be the next video. And then after that, it's going to be more getting back into like the sort of vlog style of doing the art studio stuff again, just because it's kind of fun, and I get a lot of questions about random stuff every so often, and it's just easier to have a place to send people where they can watch the process on how I do something versus me explaining it every time as quickly as possible on Instagram and trying not to come off as rude. And I'm not trying to be. It's just like, oh man, like I want to answer this question for this person, but I got 50 other messages that are more like work related that I have to tend to first. But really, I just want to talk to this person that has an interest in something that I do. But yeah, so we're gonna be getting back to that 2021, trying to get everything back on somewhat of a schedule, and things are starting to get a little bit more normalized. I'm not really finding as much consistent work, and I've just sort of accepted it. I'm going to go back to just freelancing, doing jobs when I get them, and not stressing out too much about it, just because there's no point of me to freak out over stuff I have absolutely no control over right now. But we'll see how things go. That new video coming out has to do with stickers, and it's pretty sweet. So the last live stream I showed off some of the stickers, but there's some more of them that should be here, I think today or tomorrow from them, and they're even more insane. Alright, so yeah, this is looking pretty good. The light source is always hard to determine when you're doing like a negative knockout, because you always draw the shades weird. Oh yeah, it's definitely been harder freelancing during like the pandemic. At least for me, I know some people are thriving really well, like people in certain cities and stuff where a lot of people left. Some people just have more work than they can handle. I do a lot of stuff with different brands and companies on contracts, and they're usually requiring me to come into their office, but with everything shut down, they're not open, so there's no need for anyone to really be there, and that's been a huge blow. Like when I was at Converse, I had to go into Converse pretty much every day, and you know, I'd have to like show up and do design, even if they had no design work for me, because I was being an hourly paid employee with a contract. I had to still be there like 40 hours a week. So there'd be like some days where, you know, when you're a contractor, you always get like the shittiest of everything as far as like computers and stuff. So my computer would never work. I'd have to go home early and then work on like my personal computer to get stuff done, which is like fine, but they would still need me to be there for specific things like meetings and stuff, but not anymore. So that contract ended, and I was freelancing. I was just fine. I was going to freelance again. I wasn't really focused on trying to get another big contract for a while, because I had consistent work coming in, freelancing, and just like random gigs here and there. Was definitely enough to survive, and you know, do a couple cool videos here and there or whatever, and maybe find a studio space and all that stuff. But it's definitely changed a lot. I'm hoping now, as things start to get to some level of normalcy again, I'll be able to find another, like maybe a remote work gig doing design stuff. I do like working with some big brands, and if Converse ever opens back up, I think they're like completely closed still. But if they ever open back up and they offer or like request that I do another contract, I'd probably do it like in a heartbeat. As shitty as it can be being a freelancer, most of the people that I worked with were really, really awesome. And it's just the name of the game when it comes to freelancing. You're going to have situations where things kind of suck and you can't really do anything about it. So you just suck it up and enjoy the good times. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's like a super long rant. It is a hard question, but that's kind of like my thing on it. Like I've been personally affected because of the pandemic as a freelance creative for sure. But I do know a lot of people that are doing really well. It just depends the industry you're in and kind of your niche market, or if you're already in a place when it started. I was fully freelancing at that point. So it just kind of just happened, and it was slowly starting to get worse before we had the official like lockdown, when it was just starting to be talked about as a big concern in the US. So it just happens, but it'll be fine. Things are going to work out. I am planning to reopen the store next week, or just continue with just that little Etsy shop I have going on for the holidays, and just a bunch of stuff I want to try to do just to kind of get back to normal, back to streaming and back to filming like on a regular basis. All right, here's one of the tricky parts of the skull. that I couldn't figure out last night how I wanted to do this. So if I'm only going to do the knockouts of the shadow area, so it's like the reverse image is an inverted version, there's a lot of areas I need to kind of shade and figure out the type of cut I want to do. And let me kind of show you a quick example like what I mean. So there's a few ways that you can do it, because the tools that you use, they're like a bladed tool. Actually, I have some right here. So the tools, they have a couple different types of blades on them. There's a V gouge, which is a V shape, if you guys can see that. So it's a little tiny V like this. That's the blade. Then there's the U gouge. If you can see that at all. It's a U shape like this. So you have the V shape, the U gouge. And then you have like some smaller U gouges, which, you know, a little bit more detail. So all your lines are kind of made with this, and that's how you do basically everything. I need to determine how I'm going to carve this. So if I'm going to carve just the lines, so I carve all the lines out, and, you know, they get all the sharp edges because that's how the tools just make the lines look. Or I do the reverse, which will be the next drawing, where all of the highlight areas, I actually spend the time to cut them all out. So it would be like this whole section here. All the black would be black, the background would be black, and then all these light areas would have carvings pulled out, and I'd have to carve in between all these little like tiny groove lines in here, and then there'd be this little edge here. Now I think it would look really nice. The problem is carving on a skateboard is really difficult with these tools because they're not really designed for it. They're designed to be carved on a much flatter surface typically. So I have to worry about the concave and the convex of the board. So it's all just, you know, it's a weird shape like that. It's not perfectly even or anything. So getting clean lines is really difficult on there. And doing some of these intricate lines like this, I think could be a problem. The other method that I'm thinking about doing is the cross-hatching carving method. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but I do like the results. So essentially what I would do is sort of the same thing with the highlights, but I would go in directions that fit the form better of the object. So just kind of go like this. And then it slowly builds the form of the shape, if that makes sense, right? So we have these lines here. These black lines, imagine they're being carved away. Carving them, and then you would go again. You could do some other ones for certain areas. And these are carved away, and this actually makes a brighter spot on a dark background. So all of these little tiny lines would be cut out, and then you could do even more details and like rougher cuts and stuff like that. And gets to the point where you have a nice large centered area that just looks darker, and that would be a highlight spot. It's hard to do on paper to show that. So let me catch up on the chat real quick. Yeah, that's true. I could definitely play it safe and just do like the line work, but I'm just kind of sketching it out on paper. It's a little bit easier for me for whatever reason to do it that way, and I just find that it's just more helpful. But I have the iPad here, so I might try to show you guys what I mean on a dark background real quick. So let me just grab that and set that up so you can see it. All right, so pull the iPad out and move the stand and adjust it so you guys can kind of see. Okay, so I actually had already done sort of like a weird little prep thing on here where I had basically started doing a carve away method. This might be a little bit hard to see on camera just because of the glare. So let me just pull this back real quick. So that little light gray area is just sort of like a reference so I can sort of see. But if I zoom in here, and if it actually lets me show the detail, sorry, it's a little blown out, and I don't have the iPad connected to the screen the way I normally do. Let me just check one thing here. Bring the brightness down. Okay, there you go. See how these lines carve? So if I were carving with one of these tools, sorry guys, hang on, GoPro I think died. There we go. If I were carving with one of these tools, it'd be a little bit different. So basically, sorry, let me zoom in real quick. Basically what I'm talking about is, see how these lines cut out? I would actually be carving away like this to make this negative space. Now up here is an example of like one of the highlights. See how I have all these lines going in the direction that form around it, and then they like slowly cross out and they etch into it? That makes the highlight. So if I do that and I grab my Apple Pencil, wherever that is, I'll just use my hand for now. If I were to do this sort of same thing and repeat some of these strokes and build up the highlight a bit more, see how much brighter that is from a distance? Sorry guys, I'm going to try to fix this camera real quick. I'm sorry about the technical stuff. Always being kind of messed up on here. There's just certain things I can't really control doing all this by myself. All right, here we go. Okay, there we go, a lot better. All right, so yeah, you can kind of see all that. That's sort of what's going on here. Let me grab that Apple Pencil and we'll get into showing you how I plan to do this in a couple different ways. But that's the first plan, and I do like how this looks, so we'll keep going with this one just to do a quick rough sort of outline, and then you guys can tell me which one you guys think looks better. And then I'll try to do some mock-ups tonight where I'll actually take the artwork from here, and then I'll just mock it up on what the board looks like, and then you guys can kind of see the different versions. But I think we'll have a pretty clear idea after seeing both of them next to each other. Okay, so we got this going on, and sometimes it's easier to sort of look at your sketch and your reference. It's a little hard for me to draw like this, so I'll draw and try to show stuff the best I can. But basically, I'm going to carve out different lines. Might be hard for you guys to see, so I'm sorry about that. It's always hard to do these videos to really show the process, but there's not much else I can really do to make them better at the moment with my current setup, and that's okay. My main computer is it's an iMac, and it's a great machine, but the ports and I/O that are on it are very limited to what I can do. So I can't really add more screens and multiple angles and stuff like that easily on the Mac with everything else I have plugged in to make it run as my everyday computer. I'd have to pull the whole like setup apart every time I wanted to stream, and I just can't commit to doing that right now. It's just too stressful. Yeah, I've had a lot of people too just like messaging me on Instagram and stuff and being really, really supportive, and I think that's really awesome. I do appreciate all that when you guys like comment on stuff and take the time and the energy to do that. Just so I wanted to say thank you. I had like, I don't know, like 20 DMs this morning, and they were all just literally like the little fire emoji about the sketch. That shit's awesome. I do really appreciate that. It's kind of cool. I don't post as much to my main feed anymore. I'm trying to curate it a little bit more, but it is cool when people do stuff like that. It's just like a nice personal touch to it for sure. I think it's awesome. And I had a few people that have reached out recently about collaborations. Some artists that I don't personally know or anything. Just some like general guidelines in the future if you wanted to collaborate or something. I'm open to collaborating with all sorts of artists that do different things. But I can't say yes to everybody. I can't commit to something if you don't have sort of a concrete plan in mind. Like, I get that a lot where people are like, I want to collaborate. And I'm like, that's awesome. But if you don't know what you want to do, or you don't have an idea in mind and you're leaving it up for me to sort of figure out, I can't guarantee I can do that or commit to that yet. You know what I mean? I can't, with everything I have going on a day-to-day basis, I can't really say yes or no. So just as like a little sort of side note, I just want people to kind of be a little bit more aware of that. Like, yeah, I'm open to collaborate with artists, but I cannot commit and say 100% yes or no on anything at, you know, any given time. I need to really sort of prepare and know what I'm getting into before I can say yes to anything, or if it's, you know, beneficial for me to do and for you to do. But yeah, I've been getting quite a few requests to collab and stuff lately, and I'm honored. Like, it's cool that you want to do that, but I just got to be realistic about my time frames, and I just can't say yes to every project. So please don't be offended. If for whatever reason I say no, it's not like you on a personal level. It's just I might not have the time to do the project you have in mind with everything I have going on. You know, trying to freelance with the little work I have coming in, it's pretty labor intense, and I don't want to say yes to something and not be able to deliver. I would feel awful, you know. But I do appreciate everyone that has reached out for that. It's super, super rad. I think that's great. Okay. So I'm just trying to do this how I would carve it. I'm just going in with this one size right now. But just to sort of show you like the gradiating effects you can do with this sort of cross hatching technique. And you can kind of see how the highlight sort of dissipates a little bit as it fades closer to the black, the heavier black area. So you can kind of see how that has a way more shape and dynamic look to it. I'll turn this off, see if that helps with the view. But see how that looks now, and then when you zoom out, it gives you much more of the detail. So I'm just going to do a few more spots like that and really show that stuff off. So this is one version, and this version requires definitely more carving. It's a bit more intricate. It looks cool, but the other version also looks really, really badass, just like how it's done. And like the whole method of that. But this gives you more of like the form and stuff for sure. Yeah, it is. It's very similar to how like a metal to etch design would be. And doing these like thin lines like this is actually really close to how like Japanese wood blocks are carved as well, because they use a lot of negative space and very defined. Really close to how like Japanese wood blocks are carved as well, because they use a little bit more of like how a European aesthetic and woodblock would be achieved, more like this etch style like this. And also, I'm not like a print master, so please don't hate me for saying terminology wrong or not doing something the way that you would do it. Saying terminology wrong or not doing something the way that you would do it. I live in a tiny apartment. It is currently my studio space. I do not have access to the same equipment. that you might, or the time that you might, if you're fortunate enough to have the time. So don't be a jerk. No jerks allowed on streams anymore. But you can kind of see, like, get the general idea. This is super rough too. It would probably be much cleaner than this, and I would use multiple tools. I'm just keeping the one size for consistency so I can see it personally. Looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm liking how this is going so far. I think this will be a cool version. I might do 2 of these. I'll definitely do like a one-of-a-kind version for the client, but then I'll make like another skull version maybe for myself. Yeah, I like the look of this sort of contoured designed look as well. I think it's definitely really cool, but it can be a little hard to achieve the level of accuracy on such a curved surface when you're working on a skate deck. If it were just like a flat plank of wood that I put, truck holes in or whatever, and it was like just an art piece, in that sense, it would be fine. It wouldn't matter. I could do this all day, and the wood would be much softer. The wood's a hard maple for skateboards, so it's actually pretty difficult to cut into. But you can get through it. Some woodblock carving stuff is also just as firm and just as difficult to cut into. But yeah, it can take a toll for sure on your hands and stuff trying to get it right. Yeah, I'm really liking how this looks so far. And then you just add these cross-hatching little lines here. It's a little hard to kind of do quickly on the iPad. I want to do this fast enough because I don't want to spend as long on the sketch as I would on the actual carving. This is just to kind of get the general idea of how it might look. And I try to keep the lines only going in, 2 general directions for the form. I don't want to go like diagonally if I don't need to. But this basically will create the idea of the highlights here. The areas that have the most of the highlight. The negative space up here, very faint. So sort of different. And then you can see the front here where the highlight would be the brightest. You want to remove more of that material however you see fit. I would probably knock it out quite a bit. And then you're really starting to see the shape of the skull take form. I think it's cool. I do like how this looks. This might be the method I personally choose to do for this design, just because I personally like how it looks. I think it's good. The shape of the bits, they don't necessarily make it easier or less difficult to carve on a curved surface. It's just making sure you sharpen them on a regular basis. I do have a video actually I made like last year. I think it was like a studio vlog video where I kind of show some of the process of carving a board. But you need to use a slip strap, is what it's called, to sharpen the blades almost every single cut. Because what happens is a burr will develop on the edge of the blade. So say you have this V-gouge and you get a burred edge because the wood damaged the blade. You actually have to remove that burr. So you use a polishing compound on a slip strap, and that actually removes it and resharpens the blade. You pretty much do this for every single line, or every couple lines. In my case, I would do every couple lines, because I'm not as worried about the end result because this isn't a print. I'm just removing wood as quickly as possible. Whereas if this was going to be like an actual plate to do like a woodblock print, I would be taking my time to make sure that the blade is as sharp as possible because I need that to translate in the image, the reliefed image of a print. But because this is just a visual application, knocking out the wood isn't as big of a deal. But yeah, almost every single cut, I have to resharpen the blade. So it is very labor intensive. It's definitely a labor of love, and I'm fortunate enough to have some people that want to collect my stuff, that want to pay for that sort of thing. Like, it's important to them to have fine art on something that they also love. So I'm super appreciative of anyone that ever commissions me for this stuff, and understanding the expense that goes into it, but just not alone with materials, but just the time it takes to even make something like this is a little crazy. Yeah, it's just wild though. It is definitely it's definitely something I enjoy, but it is very stressful at times where I'm trying to get like a very specific look and then I can't achieve it for whatever reason. But you just gotta remember, you can't get that frustrated with it. It's a fine art at the end of the day. It's all good though. I do love doing it, so I don't really I'm not trying to complain about it, but it is definitely labor intensive for sure. So if you're not familiar with printmaking stuff, check out other printmakers. Look into printmaking, see how these carvings are done, and you'll see some of them. You'll have a completely whole new appreciation for just prints in general. Like, people that do traditional printmaking, or even screen printers. Like, that's still a huge labor of love to be a good screen printer and make things that are interesting. A lot of these art forms originally were commercial forms of art. Some of the earliest versions of commercial art are actually the most famous. And these are the techniques they used to make replicas of artwork and do print. And this is how it was done. And that's the wildest thing to me, is that it completely started as a utility-based way to make replicas of the same thing over and over. And that's it. And in itself, the craftsmanship of being able to make the tools to do this and then using them in a way to portray your ideas as an actual image is just insanity when you really think about it. I'm carving all these intricate lines with a technique and a tool in a very specific way just to get the same image repeated again and again. So every piece is limited because these plates don't last as long either. Some materials break down faster, and some of these really fine details deteriorate over time as you print. So you may only be able to get, a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 prints, usually less, from a plate. So you should really appreciate, if you see printmaking of a design you like, know that it is very rare, it is very limited, and it's something that you're not going to find really anywhere else, which I think is the coolest thing. Every print will be different. None of them are exactly the same. It's a hand-done process still. I love printmaking. And I think you should definitely, anyone should check it out if they're not familiar with what goes into making great quality print work. Yeah, so I'm going to spend almost as much time trying to carve this digitally if I spend too much time on this detailing it. So I'm going to try to do this a little bit faster and a little bit rougher maybe, just to get the general idea to see if it's something I want to do in this sort of stylistic method, and just, you know, plan it out a little bit more, maybe do a few more definite lines, like that sort of thing, just to give that contoured edge. And this is all just trial and error for a lot of this too, is figuring out what works for you. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a very labor intense thing. So I'll try to just get through the rough concept art quickly, so you guys can see both styles. And by tomorrow, hopefully I'll have another deck ready to go. And the preparation for the boards is also very labor intensive, so it takes a lot. I have to sand it and seal it. If watch that video if you guys want to see some of that process of what goes into it. It is pretty intense, and I really do want to do more of these. I would love to do an art show one day of just carved skateboards. I think that would be awesome, and just do different forms of like printmaking in that sort of way. Maybe make some prints from the boards that are carved, so you kind of have like the whole shape of the deck or whatever on the paper. I think that'd be really cool, but it would also be very labor intensive, and there's also a massive shortage in skateboards in the US right now, and I would hate to contribute to that problem where I'm just using them to carve for art when a lot of people need them to actually go out and skate. So until the supplies replenish, things are back to normal in some sort of capacity, that's on the back burner as like a pipe dream show one day, to do a bunch of really cool carved decks. I think would be super rad, and just try to really work with only skateboard artists if possible. Because I do like when people do skate art shows. The problem is a lot of the people that are making the art, they might not skate, and that's fine. Like, their art's still rad, and it definitely still deserves a place on a skateboard. But I think it'd be a lot cooler to be able to highlight actual skateboard artists in a skate art show. I've seen plenty of cool ones though. People make some cool graphics and stuff. Like other YouTubers even have done cool skateboard graphics that don't skate. 1000 does his thing on a couple decks. Like, his regular stuff is kind of like, you know, it's cool. It's not necessarily like my aesthetic and style. Like, he does some cool shit, but he does some cool skateboard graphics, which I really appreciate, and he doesn't skate. So I think that's kind of neat. People are just kind of drawn to them. All right, it's getting there. You guys can kind of see some of it. I'm sorry that it's so hard to see the detail on the screen here. Let me try bringing this down even further, see if that helps. There we go. That looks more like a actual piece of paper now. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about, building up these details. I'm going to take a quick break of doing all this line work with the dimming down, because I can't see anything. My room has to be super dark for this to work. So I got to bring this up so I can just see real quick. While that's going on, I'm going to just go through some of these highlights of the stream. I'm going to just show these alerts of recent followers and stuff. I do appreciate you guys joining the channel. So we have a couple from the last couple days. We have the Awkward Party, a bunch of people that started following and subscribing to the channel. Okay, there's a ton of those. They're gonna run for a little while, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. There's just a lot. I'm just gonna try to go through all of them. This is people from the last couple weeks, and some of them months. Oh yeah, I got down to some of the older ones that are way far back for donations from like forever ago. So ignore those. I just clicked through them quick. But yeah, thank you all these people that have recently subscribed, started following on Twitch or wherever you guys have come from or found my stuff. I really appreciate all you guys kind of supporting and doing cool shit and joining the Discord and all that stuff. And anyone that's active on the Discord, you guys are the best. I know it's hard for me to be on there all the time, and it's hard for me to constantly try to, be good at making conversation, but I need to get better about it because I genuinely love the people on the Discord just making cool stuff and sharing their work, and it's just such a cool thing to be able to have a community of people doing cool stuff on there. I should get through this little section kind of quick. Like I said, I'm just going to work really loose, and I should have a general enough idea of what I'm doing and how I'm planning to do this style if I end up liking it more than the other. So yeah, just please ignore some of these lines are going to be wonky. I need to do this quickly in order to figure out what's going to work best for this. It might take a couple hours to do the carving as well. So tomorrow when I do the video, I might start a little bit earlier than usual just because it's going to take hours to carve. I will already probably have the artwork transferred and ready to go, and it's just carving at that point. So it's going to be a long stream for sure. It should be cool. I'm going to do my best to answer questions, but I need to definitely focus when I carve, because if I slip, I can actually end up getting cut really badly. Hey, what's going on, dude? I'm doing all right. Just carving, or digitally carving, getting ready for a bigger stream tomorrow. So I think I have the general forms and stuff generally laid out in the way I would do them. Just working on building up some of these highlight areas. And I'm only using this one size brush intentionally just to kind of mimic how the tool would be. I do like this brush though. It is an etching brush. I think this is one from one of the big packs from True Grit Texture Supply, I believe. I don't know. I'll have to double check in a minute. It's a great brush though for this to kind of get that look quickly. All right, so got the basic form of the skull. These lines were carved bigger. Oh, sorry guys, 1 second. GoPro keeps cutting out. Sorry about that. That happens every once in a while with this GoPro. It does cut out quite a bit. See if I can get that back to what it was doing before. So sorry about that, guys. A little bit better. Sorry about that. Okay. And let me just double check, make sure everything's going. The chat too. 1 sec. I'm gonna minimize this. There's always a bit of a latency and a bit of a delay. So if I don't respond to your questions right away, I'm sorry. I probably have. It's delayed on your end. Whoa. Oh, looks like my subscriber goal is wrong on the chat. I'm just realizing now too. It just pumped in all those subscribers from Twitch. So it's really 922. I need moderators already. I'm such a small stream. Also, if you're watching on YouTube too, every like really does help the video a lot. So if you guys can do that, it really helps the channel a bunch when the videos are liked and shared, and like the long viewership is great. But again, no obligation. Just stick around if you're having a good time, you're learning stuff, you have questions, you just want to hang out. I'm sorry I can't put music on the streams anymore. I really wish I could do that, but my playlists and stuff and what I listen to on Spotify is public. So a lot of people ask like what I listen to usually when I'm doing art. It's always a kind of a crazy mix of different stuff, but I posted a bunch of stuff I was listening to this morning on Instagram, so you can follow my stuff there. Also at Wolf Pits, if you're curious. I listen to a lot of different music, and some of the stuff people might not know if they're not really in like the punk or hardcore music or weird alt indie stuff. But I like a lot of the 70s into the early 80s skate punk stuff. I think is the coolest. I think that's the best stuff. I should talk to Space Case and be like, yo man, I'll moderate your stream, you moderate my stream. I need to figure it out. I've actually was talking to him a little while ago about doing some cool stuff this year, and hopefully we can get some stuff going. His new setup though, I'm so pumped for that, dude. If you guys aren't familiar with my buddy Austin, known as Space Case on YouTube, check out his stuff. He had a really, really crappy thing happen to him a few months ago where he had a flood and stuff and basically just destroyed everything the dude owns. And it just really sucks because he's such a solid person. But he's, he like just rebuilt and he's back at it. And I'm so happy for the dude just to see him kind of survive through something like that. It can be really like traumatic to lose everything. I lost a lot of stuff in a flood, and I know exactly what that dude went through, and it's just really great to see him bounce back so quickly and recover and just get back after it. It's so rad. So definitely go give that dude a follow. Subscribe to his channel, check his stuff out. He kills it. He's just having fun, and I think that's the coolest thing about his work in general, his personality. He's just there to have a good time and make stuff he truly enjoys. And that's super important. I think that's the coolest thing someone can do with like their YouTube channel. Just make the stuff they want to make, and who cares? It's awesome. All right, I'm going to try to do this again a little bit faster. The lines might not be as precise. Bear with me. I just need to be able to make these highlight areas really stand out a bit more. All right, so you can kind of see the effect I'm going for. I think I would most likely do is have an actual edge that went around the entire area of shading. And this just kind of really makes the object stand out from the background when the whole background is not going to be carved away. So normally on a print like this, you'd actually carve away all the background, and then that's like what you would have. Yeah, sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. I will be carving the board by hand using just traditional Japanese wood carving tools for block printing. So I've done some boards in the past. They're on my Instagram from last year, if you guys want to check those out. And I'm so sorry. I'm just looking at the audio again now on the mic, and it looks like it's pretty bad. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so that stuff's on the Instagram if you want to go and check that out or whatever. Yeah, it's definitely a hard process. That's why I'm doing these little sketches here. So the board that I started to prepare for this, the paint would not cure correctly. It's a special type of matte paint, and I have to strip the board back down. So I'm actually going to go get a new deck tonight, prepare it, and then tomorrow night we're going to do the carving. So we're just going to go through this whole process now where I sort of show you my method of deciding on what style I want to go with for the carving. So I'm just trying to do this a little bit faster. So it's not going as quickly as I'd like, but we're getting there. We'll get through it. This is super rough. Normally I'd be a lot more methodical about the lines, but again, this is just the concept art of how I might carve this, but it'll get better. Yeah, you can kind of see some of the areas, like the definite lines. So all this would definitely be knocked out pretty heavy. This whole section here would be knocked out. Gonna just see if I can close this off and make that work. Kind of works. I forgot about that technique. But yeah, basically all the way up here would have that same sort of deal going on. So on both sides of that highlight, it'd go all the way down. Let's just knock out this eyebrow too really quick. I'm using a different size brush than what I used on the other side, so just bear with me on this. I just think it's going to give me a more accurate representation of how this would look. I'm really digging it though so far, guys. I really do like how this is coming out. It'd be definitely more difficult to carve it like this with this much detail, but if it looks better than the other style, then I might go with this. Or I might do more of like the sort of Japanese inspired woodblock printing where it is heavily shapes and very well defined lines, which is not as intricate of carving, where I would just do like heavier knockouts like I have in this section right here. So the heavier knockout would be right there. And that's really popular in sort of like the Japanese style of traditional like woodcuts. So a lot of tattoo flash. That's sort of inspired by at least Japanese tattoos. All that stuff usually comes from traditional Japanese like woodblock prints and all the woodcut stuff. Yeah, we'll be doing a few more commissions for the rest of this month. And in December, I do some. But if people are looking for gifts for the holidays, I ask that they ask for stuff during November as well. Yeah, actually, I really do like doing lino cut stuff a lot. I don't have everything I really need to do good print work with lino, but I do love it. I just like the methodicalness of carving, and it's just, relaxing and enjoyable. Just printmaking in general, I'm a huge fan of. Like earlier, I was kind of talking about it. Like I just love all of my friends that do printmaking, and their work is just amazing. And a lot of people, they don't really appreciate print work and printmaking stuff and doing carvings and all that. It just doesn't have the same sort of respect it deserves, in my opinion, as other forms of art and illustration. But it definitely deserves it because it's just such a labor to make anything. All right, I think this is looking pretty good so far. So I'll get the eye done and the nose, and we'll do some of these little highlighted areas real quick. And I think that'll be kind of at least enough to really showcase the idea a bit better. One thing I do want to get into is doing like etched metal plates. That's something I've never done. Well, I think I tried it in like high school or something, but I never had the opportunity to make like personal work that I enjoyed with that technique. But I think it's such a cool process of doing the carving and using the acids to etch the metal, and just a fun thing I want to do one day. I have friends that do it, and I think it's just super rad. There's a printmaker that does a lot of like woodblock stuff. I think his I just forget his Instagram. I think it's Lice for Life is what he used to go by. But his stuff is absolutely amazing. It's just mind blowing watching his work. Yeah, that's the hardest part is if you want to do prints that require a rolling press. Like you could use the spoons and all that to transfer stuff, and it's totally fine. But yeah, no, it's intense. It's like a lot of planning and preparation, and that's the thing though. It's like same thing with good quality design or making anything that requires a technical application. It's all about preparation and proper planning. And you can make presses nowadays a lot cheaper than what you could find one for. So they make little tiny desktop ones, which I think is cool. They clamp to a desk and they have like an actual metal roller and wheel, and they're like a couple $100. They're definitely expensive. But if you're someone that makes prints and that's what you want to do, I think it's worth the investment. One day I will have one of those little tiny presses for sure. and I will probably do a lot more of this sort of thing, just as like a fine art thing that I enjoy. But right now, it's not like a feasible thing for me. I got too many things going on, but yeah, I definitely plan to do more fine art and stuff in the future. I just never really had the opportunity to pursue this stuff the way I wanted to growing up. It just wasn't something accessible to someone like me and a lot of people that I know that I met later in life. Very similar situations, but they found ways to get there. And one day I will be able to do more fine art. And I definitely would love to do more printmaking stuff, but just going to keep going with what I got. Yeah, that I've seen people do the hand roller. I think it's cool. It definitely gives a different effect because you can't get as much transfer of the ink and whatnot, and that's why the rolling press is so popular. Is because the even distribution of pressure is so definite, and it's a lot more reliable for the result. And that's probably why, like most people, once they start using a press, they don't want to see it any other way. It's like if you get into design and you start with one of those free design applications before you get Photoshop, right? Like actual Photoshop. And you can definitely do really great work with all that stuff. But once you start using the tool that is a lot easier, you don't want to go back. Like even with this sort of thing, like with carving, they make inexpensive carving tools for like lino cuts by like Speedball and whatnot. But once you use a nice tool and you learn how to sharpen it, and learning that sharpening it every cut makes it a lot easier on your whole body and your hands and stuff, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go backwards at all. But I think the effect of the hand rolling though is cool. I do like the line that it makes and like the texture that you get from it because it's so inconsistent. You're never going to get nearly even close to the same result every time, which to me, I think that's cool. I think that's something that adds to the aesthetic of getting prints in general. I want it to be one of a kind. I want it to not have that same sort of look and feel for every single one. Whereas like even with screen printing, like there's things you can do to have consistency but also make variations in it that make it unique, which I think is really cool. And I think a lot of people do that well. I think Morning Breath Studios does that well. Or sorry, Morning Breath Inc., not Studios. They do that really well. And they use limited screen printing techniques, which I think is awesome. And they also like make stuff also super accurate when they want it to have that look. But they're really good at making unique looking images using print techniques that a lot of people don't utilize anymore because they're hard to do, and you can't achieve them digitally, which is another thing I think is important when it comes to print stuff, at least like printmaking design and art and all that. Sorry, I'm ranting because I'm focused on these lines. All right, that's looking a lot better. I actually really like how this is coming out. I might do this technique. I might do this style after all. Like I'm actually really happy with how it's coming out. So usually I'm pretty picky, and I'm like, oh, I don't like how this looks or whatever. But I think this is looking great. And the person that commissioned the board, I showed them the sketches, and I've been showing them this process and kind of like through it, and I feel like have a good understanding that, you know, with printmaking or like doing woodcuts like this, they're just determined by like the art itself is going to vary every time from sketch to sketch because of how the blade's going to hit the wood. Yeah, actually, I've been looking at a vinyl plot cutter for a while, but mainly for custom toy stuff. So, like when I do custom toy stuff, being able to make spray masks and things like that for more intricate logos would be awesome. But I don't even have a place to properly paint toys or anything anymore. And also, it's a good thing for like getting letters set up for murals and things like that. There's a lot of applications and uses for them. But the etching effect that they do for those plot cutters is a little intense. You might be referring to more like a CNC etching machine. Those are like on a flat bed, and they use a changeable bit. So like an X carve or anything like that. That's what those are typically used for. Those are really cool, but they also have limitations because you have to use a very specific bit to cut away certain areas. But I definitely would love one of those for so many different reasons that I just don't even have the space or the funds to get one. But yeah, I would use an X-Carve daily if I had one. I definitely would make some crazy stuff. The cool thing about it is you can make really intricate 3D models and then cut out those components and pieces and make really cool stuff. And I think it would be really cool to actually do like CNC'd skateboard ramps. So you just, make some plans, send them out, and just make crazy shit all the time, or like cool molds. Yeah, it definitely would be easier. But to be honest with you, the thing that I like about doing this whole thing is actually carving the board. Like, I enjoy the process as much as I'm complaining and bitching about it. I genuinely do like carving the board by hand. It's kind of therapeutic, and it's just I can escape the problems of the world, for a couple hours, and it's great. And it's at the end of it, I have a piece of art that I enjoy, genuinely enjoy, because of like the time that I put into it, and I think that's really cool, and it's very rewarding to me personally. But yeah, dude, if I had a CNC, oh man, it'd be over. I would just like crush through every concept I ever had in like the course of a month. I think I could do it. The Converse had a CNC, but the entire time I was there, the thing was like broken and down. And I think I saw it in action like twice. But I pretty much just used laser cutters for all my etching when I was there for anything. That lab space though is so sick and has so much potential to be even crazier. I'm sure they always had great stuff going on. The guys that run the space there are awesome, and they do some cool shit for sure. Okay. All right, this is looking pretty good. I got the general rough idea. Just gonna do a few more areas, and then I'm gonna switch to a new layer and make another style of how I might do this, where it's like the negative instead of like pulling out all these highlights. Oh man, I gotta do a few more actually before this looks good. Hang on, I spoke too soon. Let's do this kind of quick. There's just so many areas, and I start getting excited, and I start tweaking out way too many details. I don't need to be worried about just yet. Okay, looking better. So there's a few other styles too I could do with these cuts. I'm also considering where I could just go in a singular direction with 2 lines and then build up like another cross hatching technique with much more solid, definite lines. And that actually would be a lot easier to carve than doing all these curved lines and knockouts. But we're just going to keep it, again, like I said, pretty simple. I want to finish this one really quick, or as quick as I can. I know I keep saying that, but there's just a lot to kind of consider here with this design, just because of how intricate it is. Okay. These lower teeth are going to be a pain. I'm going to try to do this a little bit looser, I think, even looser than I'm doing now, just to speed this up a bit. Nice, not too bad. Oh, yeah, I also have links to the Twitch channel in the description. If you guys are on Twitch, I don't really do as much on there. I'm trying to do more on there because I just think it's like a fun platform where I can interact with you guys a bit more than I can on YouTube. But I kind of want to do more like just game content or stuff where I can hang out with you guys more directly and like we can do stuff together. They also have a feature which has now recently been released, I guess, where you can do like watch parties with movies and things like that. And I kind of want to do like a movie night once a week. It'll be like some random crappy horror movie, but I think the only requirement is to do that is unfortunately the viewers must also have Amazon Prime for it to work. I'm not really sure the details yet, but it is something I kind of want to do, sort of like a classic, you know, I'll do like a mystery theater type aesthetic and vibe for the thing where I'll pick a crappy movie that's either funny or it's just like a weird horror movie or something that I like, and we'll just hang out and we'll be able to chat and kind of talk about how crappy the movie is or how good the movie is or something. I think that might be kind of fun. I just got to figure out the logistics for it. But if you guys are into that, let me know. And just like full disclosure on that, that's like not something that I can ever monetize on. It's not a monetizable thing. It's just like I want to have a cool way to interact with you guys and just do something fun and like where it's not as, you know, strenuous and intense, where I can literally just watch a movie with a bunch of people and just have a good time. So I might try to start doing that once a week if I can figure it out, hopefully. And then I have a few other plans on there where I'll do some more gaming sort of stuff on there. I already do very good just because of what I have to do, all the capture and whatnot is not very intricate. It just streams directly from my PlayStation, so it's not the best gaming content for sure because I can't interact with you at all on it when I do the gameplay stuff. But I do want to try to start doing some of that like once a week, just to hang out with you guys, or do even like live art stuff together in a different way on there once a week. I'm not going to give up on doing the YouTube stuff. I still like YouTube a lot more just because I don't really get Twitch, but it is something that I do plan to do more of in 2021. More fun stuff that's not as stressful. Drawing live like this, it's like you're performing the entire time. It can be super stressful. Oh my god, I would love to do any Godzilla movie because they're all amazing in my opinion. I think, what was it? I think yesterday was like the 66th anniversary of Godzilla, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, I love Godzilla. Godzilla's my favorite. I'm actually like trying to figure out how to get my my Godzilla tattoo. My buddy Mais, he's gonna most likely do it. I just gotta save some money for it. But I was drawing with him last night, and we were talking about Godzilla. Actually, it was pretty funny. He was cranking out a bunch of great Flash designs because he's a fucking animal and can just bust out so much great work so quickly. It's insane. But we were talking about Godzilla pieces, and I love Godzilla. That's one of the things I collect a lot of, actually. Weird Godzilla stuff. I sold a lot of my collection a few years ago, which I'm pretty bummed about, but those vintage Godzilla toys are absolutely my favorite. Oh, I'd love to do a Godzilla. Yeah, I'd be down. Let's do a Godzilla. Like, tribute night would be sick. I would love to do that. Anything Godzilla related, I am so down for. We can do some Ultraman stuff too. Would be so good. I don't know if you guys know a lot of like those weird. Everyone pretty much knows Godzilla, but like Ultraman is a little bit more kind of niche. But all that stuff is so good. Just the monsters and the creation and how fun and theatrical all that shit is just the best. Let me try to catch up on this chat. Yeah, see, Godzilla nights. I think a Godzilla night is still the way to go. Let's make that happen. We'll definitely do a Godzilla stream night or something. Maybe we'll try to figure out the way to do the movie on Twitch, and then on YouTube I'll do like a different stream if possible, where I'll be drawing at the same time. I don't know how I can make that work. That sounds like some technical wizardry that I don't have the ability to do yet, but I would love to do something. I think that'd be so cool. Or maybe one night we'll watch a Godzilla movie, and then the next we'll do like a art stream where we make Godzilla art. Dude, I'm down to do all that stuff. Yeah. All those classic weird sort of like Japanese sci-fi and horror thriller movies are so good. Everything about them is just the best. There's a toy store here in Boston that has just the coolest shit, and they have a bunch of old Godzilla toys. Every time I go there, all I want to do is buy every friggin' Godzilla piece they have, but I gotta be good because they're expensive. I really want to make Godzilla pins or something, but it's just such a big and broad market, and doing pins, I never really like recoup my money when I make pins. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not making stuff just to make money, but it is very difficult to make that stuff and then like not recoup after investing in it, and only selling a couple makes it hard. Maybe I'll do like a pre-order or something of pins in the future if people like the art I make for Godzilla stuff. Hey, what's going on? Uh, Today I'm drawing the sketches of what I'm going to be carving on a board tomorrow night. Just because the board itself didn't cure properly, and I was still on the fence of the carving style I was going to do for this board. So I'm just kind of going through really quickly and just doing a rough sort of sketch of how I would carve this. So we're doing one style, and then after this one, I'm going to take like a 10-minute break. And then we're going to do the other style, and then we're going to decide which one looks best. Or I'm going to ask you guys what you guys think looks best. Thank you for tuning into the stream. Also, just as a quick reminder, if you haven't liked the video yet, if you're viewing on YouTube, definitely make sure to like the video. It helps the metrics a lot on the video, and it allows more people that are already subscribed to me to actually see it. It's just all like, you know how all the analytics works. Yeah, I will be hand carving this board. So we'll be using traditional Japanese power grip blades and whatnot, V-gouges. I will be using these to carve the board. I've done this before, so I actually have some of these boards on my Instagram. You can see them. I did some last year, and they're all hand carved. So there's no power tools involved. Traditional, like woodcut style. And yeah, I'm excited. But we're just hanging out today. We're drawing. I definitely like doing this bit of an earlier time, so I might make this a consistent thing too. But I know a lot of people still like the later night Thursday streams, so those aren't going anywhere. I'm actually bringing them back because I haven't done them in a while. So we'll be doing those again for sure. And I have the original sketch also on my Instagram story if you guys want to check that out. All that stuff's on there. I post a lot of stuff on there first before I post to my main feed. I'm trying to curate the main feed to be a bit more professional because, I don't know, I guess I should do that. People need to know that I'm very serious about all of this, even though I'm not. But I've been told it's important for me to boost engagement without having to pay for it on Instagram, to curate my feed and all that boring stuff. But I post a lot on the stories of stuff I'm working on throughout the day, and I think people like to see it, so I don't mind sharing it. Okay. So yeah, I kind of really like how this is coming out so far. I think I'm going to try to finish these teeth a little bit quicker. I keep saying that, but it is, like I said, very labor intensive, so please bear with me. I'm just seeing some areas that I would not want to keep solid black, so I'm just throwing some lines in there real quick to sort of break up some of those heavier areas. Okay, not too bad, looking pretty good. Yeah, also there are links to all the other social media where I post. You don't have to follow me on that stuff if you don't want to, but if you want to stay up to date with things that I'm working on, it's just a lot easier to post to those other platforms than it is to post to YouTube all the time, because of the amount of editing that goes into making each video is very labor intensive. So I try to post pretty frequently on the other social media. Instagram's the most active for sure. I don't really like Twitter. just because I see a lot of stuff on there that just annoys the crap out of me, and people are like really rude on Twitter for no reason. I'm trying to get better about using it though. But yeah, Instagram is like my main social media that I'm on. There's a Facebook page which I post pretty regularly, not as much as I do Instagram, but Instagram is just easy for me. Okay, moving along here. So these teeth, actually, the reference that I used, I'm going to show you guys the app that I use for skull references too. They're not a sponsor or anything. I'm just going to show you one that I found that genuinely works really well for me for anatomy stuff. Better ones out there now. I got this app years ago when I got my very first iPad, way before Procreate ever existed or any drawing applications existed. I just literally got it with a phone that I purchased from one of the carriers I had at one point. It just like came with the phone that I got, and I used it literally just to look at references. That's all it was good for. But I found this app at the time, and I will find that in a second. I'll show you guys. But it's an anatomy app, and it allows you to move and articulate and isolate different parts of the body. And that's actually how I made the reference for this skull, was using that, because it's just a lot easier to draw from a reference when you're drawing something that has very definite form and structure like a skull. All right. And I think I'm almost done with just this sketch, and then we'll move on. We'll take a quick break for like 10 minutes. The brush, let me look that up. So this is actually a part of the True Grit Texture Supply Rusty Nib Inkers brush. This is the Fine Engraver Single, and I actually really like it a lot. I like the True Grit texture brushes. Also not a sponsor or anything. I just genuinely think they make some of the best assets for Photoshop and Procreate and pretty much everything. All the stuff they make I'm really happy with. For mock-ups, a lot of people actually ask me that as well. So I use mock-ups from a couple different places, but I use a lot of the Black Market mock-ups. That's just the name of the company. As far as brushes though, I have so many. I'm gonna try to get a list together because people ask all the time, but I really only use a couple of them, you know. Like I got a bunch of them when I first got the iPad because I was just excited, and a lot of people do that, but you really don't need that many brushes to make really crazy things. Like when I first got it, I got all those brushes, and then I ended up using only the stock brushes that come with Procreate for like the first month, because I just couldn't figure out how to use the other ones in a way that I liked in the beginning. But I was so excited when I got all those brushes. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And then you get down to it. And to be honest, it's like, it's hard to find like a way to use all of them. Like they're cool and they're really neat and whatnot, but you don't need those brushes to make cool stuff. Like you can do cool things with them and they can be helpful for like concept stuff. I think that's the best way and best reason to invest in brushes. If you're either one, doing production stuff in a specific style and the brush helps you achieve that, or if you need to achieve a concept quickly or like gridding or stuff like that, those are really useful in my opinion for brushes. So there's some lettering brushes. I don't remember who makes them. I really like those a lot. And there's also like stamp brushes that make like lettering guides and grids. Those are the most useful brushes in my opinion. Stuff like that. That's the stuff to invest in my opinion, because it just saves you time. And that's really, you know, the one thing no one has enough of when it comes to making anything. So anything that can save you time to get a concept across, like this brush looks like a carving tool, and that's why I like it. But that's the first sketch right there. Zoom in a little bit more so you guys can kind of see that. And that's kind of like what I'm planning to do for one of the styles of carving. Actually, I got to do this lower jaw line here before I forget. I missed a tooth too. Hang on. All right, and this lower jawline here, we just do a quick little outline stroke on that. Okay, and that's pretty much how I would do this carving. So that's the first style. The next one we're gonna do is the reverse, where we just do the negative, where I only carve out the black areas. These are the highlights, and that will actually give us a much different look. I'm going to take a break for a few minutes and just like walk around and stretch. We've been going for a little while. It's been about 2.5 hours. So I'm just going to take a quick break, but I'll be right back. So if you guys want to go get something to drink, walk around, stretch, think of questions to ask, feel free to do so. I'll be back in just a minute. Alright guys, what is up? We are back. And we are going to do the next version of this design. And I think I'm going to do something that's a little bit more heavier knockouts, a little bit more deliberate lines, maybe larger cuts in the lines. Sorry, eating some lunch. Should be pretty decent though. I decided to kind of just do something a little different. But here's the design itself. Just finished up. Not too bad. I think it was pretty good. Let me bring down the brightness. And now you guys can kind of see like an accurate representation of how this would look. So the boards are a nice matte black, and then all the white would be the wood underneath. So one of the styles there, I think it's cool. We're going to do the next style now. We're just going to make a new layer. We'll hide this one, and we'll just bring back what we had before. And, oh, I got to delete a layer, so bear with me on that. Too many layers. Alright, we'll get rid of the gray. That happens like every... I will accidentally make too many layers. I'm working on a file that is very large, so that'll happen every once in a while. We're gonna do this new method. I gotta bring the screen brightness up again so I can see. So just bear with me as I make these adjustments. If you need something or you can't see anything, just let me know and I will do my best to make it a little bit more accurate. So this is the other style we're going to do real quick. This is going to be just like the line drawings. So I'm just going to carve the lines out and a couple little details in the shadow, which will kind of give it more of a weird look, I guess. 7 likes though on the videos, guys. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Everyone that's been stopping by, checking it out for a little bit. You guys are the best. Sorry, I'm trying to eat my bagel, which is the noisiest food I could have ever picked for lunch. All right. Let's get back to the stream. So the idea of this is to have a new, like another style to compare it to see which one I like more and which one I actually want to cut. Now this one is a lot more minimal, but sometimes less is more when it comes to a design like this, where you can carve very little detail but have a much more impactful image in the end. And it's kind of like the same approach to a lot of graphic. Simple is always best and legible. So if you have a way to do like a nice clean legible look and you can kind of achieve it the way you want it to look and do all that sort of thing, that's a successful logo or graphic or whatever it may be. Well, same thing, like also I was talking with my ace about some tattoo designs, and he does a lot of like traditional Japanese. It's very simplified, and he's trying to do more intricate stuff in a sketchbook right now, and then tone it down to kind of show that progression of learning the fundamentals of a design. When you know a design really well, at least in that sort of perspective, you can make it as simple as possible, and it reads just as powerful as a highly over detailed image sometimes, you know? It doesn't always need to be perfect. I think that's the other thing too. When people carve stuff, some people are so particular about the smallest details that no one else notices but them. And I do that a lot. That's like a big problem of mine when it comes to really any type of art. I just worry about things that don't matter. The image is strong, the idea is good, and the overall, application is good, then it doesn't really matter, I guess, if it's not perfect. And waiting for your art or your ideas to be perfect is the worst thing you can do as a creative in general. All right, and yeah, sorry for that little delay. I just need to do breaks every once in a while on these streams. They're very labor intensive. Sorry about that, guys. Just noticed the screen wasn't working again. Yeah, they're very labor intensive, so it gets a little difficult for me to talk this whole time, draw, and really critically think about the design. I might woodcut this tablet in a second. It's driving me nuts. The board I was going to do originally, the paint didn't cure properly, and I kind of was on the fence on what style I was going to do. So for tomorrow's stream, I'm going to be doing the woodcut today. I'm just doing the sketches right now, and I'm just trying to plan out a few. So I actually just finished up one of the styles. This is the other option, and then I'm going to compare the two, see what I like, and then I might even do a third option just to see, because when you carve with those boards, it is, that's it. You get the one shot. You can't fix any of your mistakes. You can't really make mistakes. You got to just really plan it out. So we're doing the prep work for that now. But yeah, tomorrow we will be carving, and it's going to be a super long one. Yeah, always better safe and sure when it comes to doing any type of like carvings or anything like that. That's a definite. But yeah, thanks for tuning into the video, man. I appreciate that. And whoever this one Twitch viewer is that watches, I'm assuming it's the same person that watches every stream, you're the best. Like, no matter what I stream, there's always just this like one person viewing, and I usually only use Twitch when I'm playing games or whatever, or I do these dual streams. There's always this one person on Twitch that watches, and it's just insane. I've never had more than like two people, I think, on Twitch actually watch my streams. Hey man, anytime you got time to kill, I'll be chilling. Always love having people hang out on the stream. It's awesome. And hopefully the delay isn't as bad as it was last time. I went in the settings and tried to reduce the latency to almost none. So I don't know. It's definitely going to delay, but I don't think as bad as last time. It's YouTube moderators watching? Uh-oh. Whatever, that's fine. And good. Yeah, I'm glad the delay is better this time. I'm so sorry. The last time, like that 3 minute delay, I couldn't even believe it was that bad. So as you can tell, this style is a lot faster for me to do a quick concept of because it's just making the carved lines basically around the outlines and then only picking a couple of details here and there to accentuate to kind of give a bit more of a dynamic look and range of style to this. Yeah, that last stream had a 3 minute delay, which is just crazy. So someone would like comment something and then I'd answer it and they thought I was just like ignoring them or I don't even know. It was just really hard to communicate. So this makes it a lot easier. If the channel ever gets big enough to where I can actually have a legit moderator, it'll be also a lot easier where I can focus on the art a bit more and someone can just ask me the questions. It'll be a lot easier. But this is fine for now. This is still sick. When I start doing the carvings, it's probably going to be a lot of me being pretty quiet, to be honest. Just because I really need to focus so I don't accidentally slip and, gouge out my hands and whatnot on camera. Probably get banned from YouTube or something after that. So I got to be real careful because the tools are really sharp and I got to sharpen them like every cut basically, just to make sure that they can penetrate and cut through the material because the wood of skateboards is like a really strong Canadian maple, like a fairly tight wood grain, and it's really difficult to cut across that grain. So yeah, that's another thing too. I don't think people understand about skateboards because of like how hard the grain is, being like a wood that's sourced from an extremely cold climate. It makes the wood grain tighter together. So that's why they typically use maple trees from Canada, because the wood grain is so tight together and it's a bit more sustainable and easier to get. To carve a whole board, anywhere from, depending how intricate the design is, usually over 4 hours. I don't think I've done a board faster than that, mainly because you got to stop and sharpen the blades and plan your cuts. But yeah, the last one I did was a 6.5 hour carving. That was the Reaper board. That's on my Instagram if you guys haven't seen it. That board took a very long time. It has a lot of details, and it was only outlines like this. But there's a lot of really long straight lines that I did on that thing that are insane. Like I look at it now, I still have it. People have asked to buy it, but no one's really committed. I look at that board now, and I can't even believe that I was able to pull that off. Not to sound like a cocky asshole or anything, but I was genuinely impressed on how well that thing turned out. It was just such an intense thing to tackle and take on. I couldn't even believe it came out as good as it did. And I know like a lot of people that do wood carvings and they'll work on a piece that takes them like 2 or 3 months. Hey, what's up, Jared? What's going on, man? It's hard for me to be proud of my own work. I'm trying to be better about that, but I think I still got that like, lowbrow artist mentality where I'm like, oh, everything I make sucks, but it's fine because it's fun. All right, we're getting through this long line. So carving this line, even as a cut instead of doing the reverse, might be just as difficult as cutting around it as a negative, because of all these little tiny kickbacks and cuts in the line itself. But carving that is going to be such a pain, and I'm not necessarily looking forward to doing some of these lines, but when done properly and the time is taken to do these long cuts, they do look really cool, and I think it'll add such a nice look to this. And the red on here is just from the sketch. So I had sketched this design pretty quickly using a reference I made. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I just want to get through this one real quick, and then I'll pull up those tools. And let me catch up on the chat real quick. I know, I feel that. Yeah, every once in a while I get a piece where I'm like, yo, boy, you made that shit. That shit is dope. But it's very rare. It's like spotting the Loch Ness Monster for me kind of shit. But that's just the thing. It's a part of the never-ending pursuit of personal perfection with your own style and shit. It's just like a total mindfuck all the time, where it's like you're doing good shit and you're making cool stuff, and it's hard to not be hard on yourself when you have to constantly put yourself sort of on that world stage. You know what I mean? With social media and all that, where there's just this never-ending demand of everything you make needing to be better than it is instantly. But I'm trying to get better about that and not think about that stuff as being important to me, because it's really not at the end of the day. Like, when you stop using social media for a couple days and you panic, like, that's when you know there's something wrong. Like, if you have to, that's the thought that has to go in your mind, like that crosses in your mind that something's going wrong on your social media accounts after not being there for a few days. That's when you know it's like you got to take a break. So I got like that for a while, and took a few breaks, and it was kind of nice, honestly. And now I just post when I feel like posting. I am trying to curate a little bit better, just because I've been told I should try to be more professional, which I don't really care, but I understand why. It's like I'm trying to find work right now, so I got to kind of make the Instagram appealing to people that are insane about content. All right, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to throw in a couple other highlight lines. So this is kind of a mix of using some of these highlights and then using some of the contour methods, like in the last one. That's just like my personal style. Usually people do one or the other, and they just stick with that. I break the rules. That's why I'm not a fine artist. Yeah, this nose has got some craziness going on that I just don't care about. Okay, looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that's definitely the thought, man. Yeah, my mind is always on that. It can always be better. Okay, so let me remove the sketch, and you guys can kind of see. That's the other possible method. Let me zoom in there. Let me turn the brightness down too, so you guys can see a bit more of an accurate visualization there. So that's one of the possible ones. I actually really like how minimal these look, but the carving is still just as labor intensive, I think. But there's certain things about it that have a cool aesthetic. Like, I don't always stress out about all those little details, but sometimes you kind of need to. And I think this is one of those graphics where if it's just lines, you got to add some texture in there to kind of really give it some more shape and sort of like an understanding. And that's something I'll usually like figure out on the spot. Like I'll be, outlining a piece or drawing or like doing an etch or like a carving. And then I'll just like, there's just not enough texture to make this thing look real to me. You know what I mean? It's like these teeth wouldn't be perfectly flat or whatever. They'd have little scratches and dents and chips in them and just stuff like that. When you use a reference too, that's like perfect. It's easy to kind of forget about those little things that need to be there to make it more believable. Especially like around this eye socket, there should be like just one solid hard line all the way around to know that it's a closed space. That's like way more convincing now. So like the eye socket's closed. So that's like just some technique stuff. That's pretty good. I kind of like it. I think it looks cool for sure. I'm drawing on an iPad right now. And that's that's kind of like my sort of go-to when I'm sketching for concept art. So actually, let me show you guys the sketch here real quick, just so you can see the original. So this is the sketch right here. I know it's hard to see on screen because I'm filming a screen. I have the brightness on my iPad is down as much as it can go without being too dark to even register. Yeah, that's too dark. So it's like finding that perfect balance, but I have to basically have the screen brightness all the way down so you guys can see it on the camera. But yeah, so that's the sketch. And I just made the reference using another app. I always forget the name of the app. It's an anatomy app, and I'll try to find the name of it, and I can post it. It's not a sponsor or anything. I got it years ago. Sorry, I'm looking at all these different emotes here. So the emotes don't come up on the YouTube chat, but I'm seeing now on the screen. Jared, those like little wolf, are those wolf heads? Those are sick. Let's see. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, it doesn't show me them on the regular YouTube chat, but that's so cool. So that's one. I got maybe one more style I can do, I think, on this, and it's a bit more simplified. And I might need to look up a quick reference on this one and take a bite of a super noisy bagel at the same time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, which one do you like more? So let me show you the original one. This was the first sketch. If that makes sense. And this is a lot more detailed, a lot of different etching techniques where you carve away and you basically make all these different types of highlights and shading and all that right here. You can kind of see more in the teeth. I try to really imitate how the tools would work. I spent a lot more time on this one, but even carving it, I would spend even more time detailing these out, and then I rushed here to really clear out the section quickly just to get the idea across. But you see how this one, the black makes up the object and the white makes up where the highlights will be. And then there's a stroke around the whole piece and the areas to really show the outline of the skull to make it stand out from the background. So that's kind of that technique. The other technique that I could do is a mix of the one we just did, and then also using techniques from the first one, but more so by making more negative space. So cutting out larger areas, doing larger masks, all that stuff. Yeah, no, I agree. The eyebrows definitely need something in, honestly, in both of them. The eyebrows definitely are too dark. I need to add definitely more lines in this one for sure. I totally agree with that. Yeah, the second style I like, which is this one. Yeah, I think this will look better on the graphic. It's a lot more legible from a distance. The next style is going to be a different mix. This is going to be, I think, the last one, and then I'll kind of know what I want to do. I like the idea of having some things stand out a bit more. So I'm going to try the next one. We're going to just do this by cutting out large shapes. Yeah, those wolf heads that come up on the chat, Jared, those are so sick. Are those from Twitch? Because I'm on the Streamlabs interface, so I only see them on the actual stream. Those are awesome. But let's get into the nice. Let's get into the next, I guess the next style. So we'll turn off this layer. I'll turn the sketch back on. We'll keep it red. And then we'll activate this next layer. We'll turn that off. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. Yeah. Yeah, they don't show up in the chat, but I think that's because they're like a Twitch thing, and then the chat interface is like being viewed on YouTube, so they'll only show up on on the stream itself. But that's like the thing, like Twitch, you can do that fun stuff. On YouTube, they don't have that stuff built in. I'm actually working to make like custom ones for Twitch, but I can't really do them for YouTube, unfortunately. I'm going to pull up some references real quick. We're going to do this other style. We'll keep going. And it'll probably be like the last hour. I've been streaming at almost 3 hours now. And I'll probably just take a break and do some chill stuff after that. I might play some games after if you guys want to go and check that stuff out. If you want to go follow on Twitch as well, there are links in the description. So please feel free to check that stuff out. No worries, man. Thanks for stopping by on the stream. I really appreciate you coming to check stuff out. As always, man. Thanks a lot. All right, let me find these references. And just kind of figure out what method I want to do. Now, the next one's a bit more tricky. So this is a negative space one, which I think would look also really cool, but it's a bit more difficult to cut. But let me kind of show you what I mean. So we're going to go and we're just going to do similar to how the lines are. We'll actually use the lines as a reference in this, and then we'll add yeah, we could add a color above them. No, it won't let me do it. Let me try this one other technique I have an idea for. So we'll just do this as a reference. We'll grab this green, throw it on top, make a clipping mask. All right, now the line references are green. So now in this new layer, we can see everything. So this technique's a bit more difficult to achieve. It requires way more patience, but we're going to do our best here. So the way that this one works, you actually carve around all these little details instead, and then you have a negative knockout. But basically, so I'll carve along this line, right? Just like this. And then I'll go back up and carve around this. Now, when you're doing this technique, it's actually a little bit easier to do some of this stuff because you can use larger blades and knock stuff out that way. I'm just going to do this as simple as possible, though, just to not confuse anyone, and just try to get the visual effect I'm going for as quickly as possible. And the green is just a reference to the line art. I'll probably do a poll on Instagram as well. Just there's a bit of a larger audience there. And I'm also going to check with the client and see what he prefers. Ultimately, his decision is going to be most likely what persuades my opinion of what I want to do. So I'll probably talk it through with him and see what he likes the style of most, and then I'll go in that direction. And then when it comes time to cut the actual thing, I might, things change as you go through the process. It just gets a little bit more difficult to get everything exact all the time. All right. And the problem with these brushes, when there's a lot of texture in there, you got to really make sure there's all these closed gaps to fill it. This is going to be a very difficult piece to make a fake version of. Hopefully I get it done in the next hour. Yeah, and then anyone on Twitch or checking out any of those other platforms, thank you guys so much. I'm going to try to do more on Twitch and do more different styles of content on there. YouTube also, everyone that's on the YouTube channel and been supporting. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate all of that. It's definitely pretty wild. I can't believe how much the channel has grown. Breaking 900 I never thought would happen, and we're already steadily on the way to getting to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is just wild to me. I just never thought that would actually happen. So I'm super grateful to all you guys that have been really supportive from the beginning, and everyone that's just finding the channel now. It's just a great feeling to have a really cool community of people that are into a lot of the same things I'm into. And as a freelance creative, it's actually a very difficult thing to find people that are into a lot of the weird stuff you're into, or they find value in your work. It's really rewarding, and it sounds super cheesy and dumb, but I really do appreciate everybody that likes my stuff and, genuinely gives me great feedback and just like wants to hang out and make art. It's cool. So there's a few areas I'm looking at too that are a little complicated. And that's okay. There's a few things I can do, I think, to fix it. I'm going to get the main areas I know how to do first. And then I'll go back to these other tricky problem areas and see what I can figure out as a technique. Okay, let's fill that in. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm carving around the lines. Once I get more of this filled in, it'll make a lot more sense and you'll be able to see everything a lot better. But I just gotta get all the little tiny details as accurately as I can. I might even just go by with an eraser after and take some of these out. That might be the best method, to be honest, now that I'm looking at some of these. Okay. Slowly getting there. So yeah, I'm sorry this is like a bit of a boring process, but this is what it takes sometimes to do a quick little concept design. It takes a little bit longer than you want it to, obviously, but this is what gives you the best visual representation of what something might look like. And you got to spend the time to do it right, or it's just pointless to do at all if you're not going to spend the time to do it correctly. The problem, the selection tool in this app is not very good for selecting small areas, especially with all these broken up textured lines. So that is definitely one area Photoshop beats Procreate quite a bit. Some of those simple tools that they have in there that make your life so much easier, you never think about until you don't have them anymore. And then when you don't have them, you realize, wow, those are super important. Sorry about the feed cutting out, guys. And I'm just going to bring the brightness down just a bit, just so I can make sure you guys can see everything. Yeah, and sorry if my chair is very noisy. I do need to replace this thing. It's something I found like on the street when I moved into this apartment, and it's held together with coat hangers and duct tape and all sorts of random shit, but it's falling apart and it makes a lot of noise. It's super uncomfortable to sit at, honestly. I normally just use my desk as a standing desk, but I want to do these videos for a few hours. It's hard to draw standing at a desk, in my opinion. I don't like it. Can't get as smooth of a control. Like painting and stuff, it's fine because you paint from a distance and whatever, but this is a miserable experience trying to do on a standing desk. Like, get these tight, intricate line cuts. All right. I'm also trying to make these a bit clunkier and make them actually look a bit how the tools would actually work. They're not going to cut super perfect, and that's, I think, important to try to emulate when doing this sort of sketch, just to make sure that it's as accurate as possible to the interpretation. And then when I go to the client that commissioned this graphic, I can ask them, like, hey, what do you like more? Giving a much more realistic representation of how it looks is always a good move. If you're an illustrator or someone getting into graphic design, making mock-ups that don't take as long as the initial work will save you a lot of time, and also assure that the client or whoever's commissioning your work is happy with the end result. I don't know. I feel weird calling someone that commissions work a client. And sorry, hang on, let me catch up on the chat. Some of this stuff's not coming up in the regular chat window. Jared, as far as games, I don't know. Like, I want to play more games on the Twitch channel. I think I want to do Like I've been playing like Tony Hawk and Vampire and just a lot of the games that are free on PlayStation Network. I bought the Tony Hawk game like forever ago and just waited for it to come out. I do have Cyberpunk ready to go. Like I purchased the pre-order for that. So when that comes out, I will be playing that. I want to do some competitive games that I can play with you guys as well. So if you guys have suggestions for games that are super fun, fun competitive games where we all can like kind of play together or something, I'll probably do that. I'm on PlayStation for my system. I've had the PlayStation for a long time. I don't plan on switching to anything else. So just anything that's PS4 friendly I can do. And I don't know, I might, if I invest in anything as far as systems go, I'll probably get a Twitch, or not Twitch, a Switch, just because I love Nintendo games and they're fun. And a lot of people don't expect me to like Nintendo games because all my stuff is really dark art. But dude, Animal Crossing, it looks so fun. Every Legend of Zelda game, all that stuff is super fun to me, and that's the stuff I like. So if I get a new system, that's what it'll be on. So I don't know like how well those stream on Twitch either, but I would be down to try. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I think I kind of have this pretty close to what I want. I'm going to just fill in a few more big areas on this under eye, and then I'll probably stop talking for a minute so I can just focus. And I'll try to look up at the chat too. Jared, your stuff isn't coming up in the main chat window. It's only coming up on screen right now. So I don't know what's going on with it. I'm going to try to see if I can figure that out. So I'll just have to make sure I look up on the screen here. Almost there. So I'm going to try to figure out a music solution too. Just because the last few streams or whatever, I had some issues trying to do live music. But I do have the Artlist license that I bought, and it was really expensive when I bought it. And I thought I was going to be able to make more video content this year than I was able to actually produce. And that's the main reason I got it. And the other main reason was because it's supposed to allow you to play their music while you live stream because you have a full license to it, and it's a lot better than trying to, get away with playing stuff that's popular or has copyright laws and stuff around it, and getting all the strikes on your channel and stuff is not fun. So I'm going to experiment with that on another stream. I'm going to do a day test stream, and I'm going to just try to stream for a few hours with that going while I draw one of these days. And then you guys can kind of, get a taste for it. And if it works and I don't get any more strikes or issues, then should be good to go. I just got to double check to see when that license expires, because I have no idea when I got it. I can't even remember, but got to download a bunch of music. Okay. I'll just turn up the sketch real quick so you guys can see this. So you see all the like the negative lines, how they show up. That's sort of the effect I'm going for with this. I'm going to finish it up real quick, and then it'll read a lot better once it's ready to go. Actually, you know what? Why am I doing all this when I could just do... Hang on a second. I think I just thought of something stupid that I don't know why I'm going this intricate if I don't need to, because I can just... Let me try one thing real quick. I can't believe I just did that. Wow. Okay. So one of the things that I can do, which I'm just now thinking of, is I can actually... Let me delete that. I feel so dumb. I can't believe I did that. I can make an outline and just turn this black, and it'll do the effect I want it to. Why? I don't know why I didn't think of that. That happens every once in a while. I'll do something real dumb like that. I'm gonna switch the brush to something that's a little cleaner too. Wow, I can't believe I just did that. I'm like kind of annoyed with myself. All right. There we go. Okay. So I didn't realize I just did that. Sorry, I'm Jared. I'm just seeing all your stuff on that chat. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, I play a bunch of games. So I play with kind of like whatever I feel like. I got to go pick up the board for this right after this, but when I get back tonight and I'm done prepping that thing, and I actually probably just play a bunch of games. I'll just play whatever on Twitch, and it's just like whatever I feel like. I'm starting another playthrough Vampire, and this time I'm trying to do it so it's not as aggressive as my last playthrough. My last playthrough I didn't even finish because I ended up getting to a point where too many people didn't survive, and then I ruined like the whole story for me. So doing another playthrough that's more story based, or like more focused on the story and less on leveling up and whatnot. So I might do that, or I might play some Skater XL, or maybe like more like Tony Hawk or something. I also got a copy of Street Fighter ready to go, so maybe I'll do that. I have Call of Duty too, but I'm terrible at it, and I don't like really have that much fun playing it unless it's like with people I know. All right, getting there, moving along. So you might be able to kind of see in a second once I change the line work color to the effects that I'm going for. I'm going to then take all these, I'll post them on Instagram tonight if the client's okay with it. Usually they're fine with it, but I'm just going to double check with them to make sure. But if you're on the streams and stuff, you'll see this. And I'll post it in the Discord. That's like a private thing that I don't mind sharing stuff in there. It's also the last chance to join the Discord for free. I will be making a Patreon starting in the new year. So in 2021, the first day of 2021, I will be removing the ability to access any of the content on the Discord for free any longer. And it's just going to be a reward tier in the Patreon. It's only going to be like $1 a month, and like you only have to do it once and you get permanent access. I'm not going to, deal with the process of having to ban people or whatever, or like block them if they don't pay a month on Patreon, just to kind of help pay for some of the expenses. And I really don't even want to do Patreon. It's just I can't afford these materials and stuff to make these videos anymore, and it's all out of pocket. And I don't mind doing it for sure. Like, I want to make this stuff anyway, but some of the stuff requires me to get materials that I'm not going to use all the time, and they're not really worth investing in. And that's just something I got to be, unfortunately, I have to accept as a creative, that there's nothing I can do about that. And it is what it is. But the Patreon will just like allow me to get materials and improve the channel slowly. I don't plan to make a lot of money on Patreon. Like, I know some people are able to, pay their full living expense on Patreon. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to do the Patreon and maybe get, $20 to $30 a month to pay for materials for projects that people want me to do. That's it. If it gets more than that, that's awesome. It'll allow me to kind of expand and whatnot. But that's not the plan. It's just to kind of help offset the expense and cost of some of these materials that are very expensive for videos I plan to do in the future, especially the toy stuff. The materials for that are hundreds of dollars sometimes. And that's why I don't do that stuff. Not only not having the proper space, but just the cost of trying to do something simple is so expensive. And the videos also take a very long time to try to accurately edit, because of the level of detail and things you have to capture and shots and all those angles in a small bedroom workspace. It's just not very feasible. All right, here's the moment of truth right here. So if this fills in properly, which I'm hoping it does. Okay. And now I'm just going to turn the line art to black. Oh, and that's where I missed. Dang it. Knew I missed something. I was like, there's something not right here. This area would still be black. So let me just fix that real quick. All right. Oh no. I can't believe I just did that. Damn it. Okay, that happens. My keyboard just got real angry with me. Come on. Okay. Sorry. That drives me nuts. I don't really like all the colors on my keyboard. I just like want simple illuminated keyboard for pretty much everything, but okay, let me fix this real quick. Drop that down in there. Oh, wrong one again. This one. Okay, so this would be sort of the effect here. Now these lines would be much thicker. They wouldn't be this thin. So that's something to consider. catch up in the chat real quick. I do remember us talking about making a toy forever ago. I need to figure out when I can do that. And Dauntless is a free game. I'll have to check that game out. I don't really know like what's cool to play anymore. I'm like too old. But here you can see, so you guys can probably see the details now. So see all these areas that have like all this negative knocked out space. That's kind of what I would probably do. Let's see. Let me find a better example if I can on here, and maybe I can make a more realistic one for you guys to see. So yeah, the lines would be a lot thicker than this. They'd be a lot clunkier. I'm going to just make those a little bit heavier real quick on a new layer. And then we can just kind of see what to do here. All right. Yeah, so let me do that real quick. But you see all the black areas inside this section? That would be the line art that I have to carve around. So all the white area would be carved out, which is just I'm thinking about it now and I'm already stressed out. Like I don't want to do that, but I do like how it looks. And it might be something that I force myself to do. I'd probably leave more heavy areas of black in this design. So I'd probably go in and let me grab one more brush. Let's see. All right. Let me just grab this real quick. I'm going to just make a new layer on top of one of these if I can. I can't. I need to delete one. I don't know which one to delete. Delete this mask. Cool. Oh, whoops. Damn. Okay. There we go. It's got that going on. Anyone that's just tuning in, thank you guys for watching. There's way too much stuff in the description probably, but if you want to check that stuff out, that'd be awesome. If you could like the video as well, that helps the channel out quite a bit. Sorry, I'm like losing my voice a bit. So it's hard to talk. And this is more realistic of how these lines would look if I were to carve these out. So I'm just doing a quick mock-up of a few of these design styles, and then I'll show you guys all of them, and you guys can let me know which ones you think look good. But yeah, so after this one, I'm actually going to end the stream. I got to go pick up the board for tomorrow's stream. I was going to carve today, but unfortunately the paint that I used on this board had a weird reaction and didn't cure. And I had to scrape it all off. And it ended up making the deck look like really crappy. And there's just no easy way to salvage it in the time frame I have to do this board. So I have to go get a new one and start fresh and redo all of the paint on there, but now it gave me a bit more time to think about how I want to carve this thing. No worries, dude. Appreciate you even just like hanging out as long as you can. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna just keep going. Once I hit the 4-hour mark, I'll definitely be ending the stream, but for right now, I'm just going to do this real quick, and then I'll show you guys all of the versions that I planned on testing out to see which ones I like. Sorry, I'm like ranting, and that doesn't make any sense. All right. So this makes this design a lot more simplified, but all the white would be cut out, and then all the black would be carved around on this specific style, which is also a lot of work, but I do like the style of it, and I think it's kind of a cool effect. But it does simplify everything quite a bit. As far as the boards go, like the ones that I buy, it just kind of depends on what it is. I don't wholesale them because I don't have enough of these boards selling to make it worth it yet. There's also like a massive shortage on skateboards in the US, probably everywhere in the world actually at this point. So I'm trying not to buy up usable stock that people can use to go skate right now. This was just a commission, and it's for someone that skates, and it's one board. It's not a big deal, but I want to eventually do a bunch of these. I'd like to do a show where I've done 100 carvings or something like that, some absurd number that, as of right now, is very unobtainable. But the coffin boards and stuff I have to get made by a mill that makes custom boards that are actually skatable decks. They're not just like cut out pieces of wood that look like a skateboard. All the boards are all skatable, so they have proper mounting hardware, holes, and everything. And that's really important to me if I'm going to make skate art. If it can't be skated, it doesn't count, in my opinion. At least for my personal stuff. If I can't make something that's also looks amazing but also can be skated, then I'm like, I messed up, you know? Yeah, I used to have a coffin board actually. It was like a weird one. I think Creature actually put a coffin. I think that's where I got it. Creature deck that I got, and it was pretty sick. It was a plastic board though. It was like a green plastic cruiser board. I don't know what ever happened to that thing, but it was definitely smaller than the board that I carved, and I could still rip on that thing all day. It was super fun to just like dip around. The coffin board that I carved actually has like a bit more of a real nose on it, which is super cool and kind of wild when you think about it. But it's really fun. I actually really like it to just like putz around on and get around. Like I like weird shaped boards. I think they're cool. And there's like a lot of board companies actually making weird shapes again. It's actually pretty small. I think it's under an 8-inch in its widest area, and it tapers quite a bit. Yeah, so it's not that big of a board because it tapers down. So like the widest area I think is underneath an 8-inch base. Maybe it's above an 8 and then tapers down. It's pretty tiny though, to be honest, compared to how big boards can be. These pool decks are really big. They're about 9.5 inches wide, which is like not bad. No, sorry, they're bigger than that. They're I think 10.5 inches wide, which is like kind of standard for a deck like that, in that style or whatever, to be that like big. Being a street skateboarder, though, it always sounds like so massive and insane, but to be honest, like that's kind of like the standard size for all that stuff. I grew up as a street skateboarder, and I always thought it was insane. I'd see those boards. I'm like, how do you do anything on it? Then I realized it's like just you skate differently. You know, it's not like harder. It's just a different style of skating for a lot of people. All right, so let me finish up this nose, and then I think I'll actually kind of like this look. I don't want to carve this much, but I do like how this looks. So yeah, all the in this design, all the white would be carved away, and then I'd be left with this crazy beast of a carving. I fill in more of this nose because it needs it. Same thing with the eyes. I gotta fill in more of the eyes, I think. It's good to have a decent amount of negative space in designs like this too. So just when you plan them out, you want them to have good negative space, or they do start to look a little strange and awkward. As far as like the deck goes, it's going to be a classic pool. Like the decks are referred to as like a punk nose. That's like the pointy pocket knife looking one that you're talking about. The coffin decks, I can't get any of those for a long time. The mill is so backed up that they're not going to be able to do custom orders for a long time. So not a big deal or anything. But eventually I will get back to doing those. If I ever get a proper studio space again, I will be doing small run presses of boards of just weird shapes that I might carve or might leave blank or whatever for people to do their own thing on. But that requires a lot of tools and space I don't currently have access to. But eventually, I mean, I'd love to get back into pressing boards and stuff. I think it'd be really fun. Just like one of those cool things you can do with your friends that I think is really neat, and making, just making skateboards. It's just like, how is that not on everybody's like to-do list? It looks rad. It's fun to do. You can learn a lot. Oh, as far as the carving goes, I'm gonna check with the person that commissioned it and see if they have a preference. I'm kind of leaning towards this one, honestly. Now that I'm looking at it, I like how it looks. I think it's a. Sorry, guys, just noticed that went off screen again. Yeah, I kind of really like how this one looks. I think it's a cool sort of style to it. Now that you guys can see it. I like how bold it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to definitely be hard to carve all this stuff out, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. Like, I think the details will really stand on their own. They'll be really powerful and striking, and all these lines that I'm making are just to kind of show how cool it'll look simplified. Or not even simplified. It's not necessarily like less difficult for me to cut or anything. It's just the overall look. I kind of prefer it. You know what I mean? Like, this is, if anything, more carving than the other designs, because I need to carve out all the white and then all the black stays. So I kind of like this. I'm going to check with the person who commissioned the board and see if they have a preference. I'm kind of leaning towards this one, though, honestly. I know it's going to be really frustrating to carve it, and I'm just using the black now to kind of like make it bolder of how it would actually look in real life on the board, and the lines would be much sharper, but I'm just doing this kind of quick to get the concept figured out. But yeah, I kind of like this bold line look. I think it's just really strong. It's got like a lot of power to it. So when I transfer, there's a few ways I can transfer it. When I'm using the matte boards like that, they show up every fingerprint and it ruins the finish almost immediately when you touch the boards. So I try to do stuff that's not as invasive of that, but I'll use like a white transfer paper, like kind of like a carbon paper, but it's white. And I'll actually use a ballpoint pen after I've drawn this, or like I'll print it out or whatever. In the video I have, of the old board. I think I linked that in the description actually. Of the first ones, I actually have a whole video on carving skateboards I made last year, and I believe that's in the description of this video. But I use that to transfer the artwork. Or if it's not on an all black matte board, I'll just draw with a Aquabowl pencil by Stabilo. Same thing the sign painters use. All the tools are linked in the description as well that I use for this technique. And I'll use this to draw in like little details and freehand it if I'm feeling confident enough to do that. But because the finish on this board is the ultra matte black paint, that stuff is really hard to keep really matte black. If you touch it or like mark it or it gets scuffed, it actually gets rid of all the matte finish and basically makes it shiny in that spot. But usually I use like a transfer film to transfer all my designs. Or not transfer film, sorry, transfer paper. And then I have to redraw it over those lines with a ballpoint pen. And then that leaves a mark on the board, and then I kind of know where to cut. It just depends on the style of cut I decide to do on how I do that. But I'll have that all planned out and figured out for tomorrow's stream. So when I'm streaming tomorrow, you'll actually see the lines already on the board, just because the carving is going to take a very long time, and I want to make sure that I can do a good, accurate job and really make it stand out and easy to kind of see the process a bit more when I plan it out. Sorry, I feel like I'm just ranting now. So focused on this. Okay. Oh, hang on. Missed these guys up here. These are important. I don't like those big lines there, actually. I'm looking at them. I think they're kind of the tier from the main graphic. Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think that's pretty solid, actually. I think that's a nice look to it. I'm going to scoop this in and fill it with black because the other one's got a big circle, and I think they should be consistent. So all the white area would be carved out on this design. And basically all the details that are in here, all the black that's in here would be on the board. And instead of having a stroke around this, that's one thing I could do if I wanted to really make this stand out. I'd go all the way around it. That would be like this method. So instead, I'm just going to draw it in white so you can just see it. So that's one technique, is I can go around and sort of have a contour line that goes all the way around this skull shape to kind of accentuate how detailed the lines are. And I usually wait to do this. It makes it look more like a sticker almost, which is cool, and sometimes I want that look, but I kind of like how the black edges fade into the background. Like up here you can see it, like there's no connection or anything to distinguish where it is. But it's pretty cool regardless. Like I could do either one. I usually just like wait till I do the board, and if I look at it and something's just not right, I'll do that contour. But see how strong that looks? Like I'll just do a section of it. See how like that defined edge looks? More like a sticker. Just insanity. I kind of like though the edge without the contour line, but I'll just do one final quick line around just so I can kind of show it. It does make the carving process a little bit more frustrating because I have to do this long line that looks fairly smooth and consistent around it, but it does make it stand out a lot more. Or if I wanted to do more intricate stuff on here, I could. And let me just catch up on the chat real quick. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't necessarily need the stroke, but it could benefit from it. It just depends on how it looks on the board. So I'll make that decision tomorrow when I'm carving, if I want to do the stroke or not. Because when it's actually on the deck itself and you see the textures that are naturally happening from working with the knives to carve it, that usually dictates a lot of my process, to be honest. Like, I'll make decisions and I'll change things. I'll change like cuts and stuff, and like I'll add more detail. But yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'd do the stroke on the inside as well. I'd have to, at least if I want to keep with the style. So like inside the jaw, I'd have to do a stroke in here as well. So I just follow it like this. And then just trying to keep it simple, not too crazy. But that's what I'd have to do if I wanted to keep that style. And I don't think it really helps. When I see it on the inside, that's when I'm running into a lot of things that like conflict as far as composition goes. And it's just subtle enough to be one of those things that could be aggravating to do, because like right here we have a little tight area where the teeth butt up next to each other. So see how the stroke now kind of like looks weird around it? So yeah, see, that's like one of those things I wouldn't even think about until I started carving the outline. And then I got that weird little section here in the teeth. If you can see that. It's insane. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to do the stroke after seeing that. Would just drive me crazy personally. I don't like it. So we're going to remove the stroke real quick because I just drew it quickly. Yeah, I already like it without the stroke. So if this was a different application, the stroke would be necessary. But because this is going to be carved out, there's no need. So this looks pretty awesome. There's going to be some lettering on here. So it's going to have the abbreviation for Kooktown Skateboards on the bottom. I think I'm placing it right underneath here. I'm going to do it. And that'll just be Kooktown Skateboards carved out. Most likely like in just a really simple, clean typeface. But yeah, that's kind of the process. Pretty sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is a long stream. This is a 4-hour stream, basically. Let me just check a few things real quick. We're going to just check the YouTube stats on this video just to see how it did. And I want to say thank you guys so much for really, just checking everything out and being super supportive all the time. You guys are fucking rad. I really do appreciate everybody just being so helpful and supportive. Yeah, the video got 10 likes. I think that's the most likes I've ever gotten on a live stream. I don't know why it says 3 hours ago. My Streamlabs thing is like almost at 4 hours. But yeah, it's a pretty long video, and I really do appreciate everyone just sticking around and watching stuff. It's really cool, and I enjoy the feedback too. It's always good. But yeah, it is a lot to do these streams, and I do really appreciate everyone that sticks around and watches and comments and joins in the chat. When you're just doing a live stream and no one interacts with you, it's like the most awkward, lonely thing you can do. But it's pretty insane. But I gotta go pick up this board before this place closes. There's probably a lot of stuff that's closed down. There we go, 11. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, it's pretty good. The viewership on YouTube is huge for me too. So the way YouTube rewards content creators, once you monetize, which I'm not there yet, you need to get, 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, like total in 1 year, which is insanity, but I get it. And that's never been like the goal with YouTube, but that's the stuff that's awesome. So everyone that does that, it's super, super rad. And that when you watch the videos and you share the stuff, when you like it, it really helps me out as a creator and kind of gives me something to strive for in the future. And I just really appreciate that. So not to get all sappy or whatever, but just want to let you guys know, like, it doesn't go unnoticed. Like, I really do appreciate all of that so much. All right, we're going to turn on some other graphics. So we got this one here. I want to just go through the graphics that were made. So we got this style here, which is the first one I started with. This is the etch sort of style. I do like this look, but to be honest with you, now that I've done the other ones, I think it's a little too intense. We have the one that I just did, and then I think the other one might have got deleted. Hopefully not. Yeah, I think the other one got... Oh, this is, yeah, more like a finer cut version where it would be the reverse. So the lines would be white instead. So it'd be like this. Turn this one off. And then this would be black. Yeah, so that was the other style. But that's all of them. I'm stoked, guys. I really am. I'm super stoked. Thank you, guys. I'm going to send this off to the client, see what they say. We get those boards. I'm going to just close the stream feed now. Feel free to chat and do whatever for the next few minutes while we're closing up. But I'll keep the mic on and just chat with you guys for a few minutes. Yeah, so tomorrow's stream is going to be intense. If you guys want to share tomorrow's stream, I'm going to make all the stuff for it tonight. It'll be on the Discord, so definitely join the Discord. We'll go over some of the details, some of the tools more in depth if you guys have questions about stuff. And like I said, this is the last few months I'm going to offer the Discord for free. Just because it is a lot to run. And there's a lot of stuff on there, a lot of content that people are sharing that's more personal. So in 2021, the Discord will now become private and become part of Patreon. Anyone that's already on the Discord, you don't have to worry about it. You're already like going to be able to keep your place and all of like your rankings and stuff on the Discord. Yeah, I'd be down to try the voice chat. I don't really know how it works. And yeah, it is super awkward. It's always hard to kind of do, you know? But yeah, I'm totally down for that. We can definitely try to do that. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit from talking for the last 4 hours, but I'll definitely be down to check that out. But I got to head out real quick and go get this board. Yeah, it's not bad. Doing pretty good, though, with all the stream stuff. But yeah, I'm going to call it right now. It's a good amount of time. Thank you guys again so much for watching. And I will see you guys later on the Discord, I guess, when I'm chatting on there. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow in tomorrow's stream. All right, guys.